My name is Jamin Goecker. I'm a realtor in South Central Alaska, and my mission is to help you to build an intentional and significant legacy for yourself and your family by coaching you in real estate. And today, what we're going to be doing is talking about what's going on in the Eagle River market, looking specifically at the residential, the condo, and the multifamily market. For those of you who don't know, Eagle River is kind of a smaller market, just north of Anchorage. It's technically a suburb of Anchorage, but it kind of moves and acts like its own town in a lot of ways. So it's kind of its own separate little market out here. So we'll be taking a deep dive into that. Before we get started though, do make sure that you give this video a like, do subscribe if you haven't done so already, and let's go and jump into today's market update for Eagle River. Now, the first thing we're going to look at on the residential side is what's going on as far as the inventory. So the inventory went from 38 this time last year to 36 now. So that's taken a bit of a cut. Now, I know that doesn't sound like too big of a deal, but that should definitely come across as more concerning because normally we would have somewhere around 120. I saw one year we were about nearly 150 around this time of year. So not nearly as many people are trying to sell now as have normally sold this time of year. And this is usually kind of the time of year we start seeing a ramping up of inventory. So yes, inventory remains pretty low here in Eagle River. The next thing that we're seeing is that the number of properties that actually sold, not surprisingly, went down because this time last year we sold 56 and now we're actually looking at 32 properties that have actually sold in the past month. So we're kind of getting to the point to where the inventory goes so low to where we just can't keep turning out a whole lot of sold properties year over date when the total number of properties that are even available on the market have taken such a significant cut. So that's something we're going to keep an eye on here. We hit a certain threshold in every market where we go below that, and there's not going to be a whole lot of closings after that because we've crossed a threshold and we can't sell 80, 100 homes if there's only 20 available on the market. So threshold's going to be a little different for each market. I think we're getting there for Eagle River. But yes, number of closed properties have gone down. The next thing that we're seeing is, not surprisingly, the average sold price has gone up by nearly $50,000 compared to this time last year. And that's kind of been the trend of what we've seen in Eagle River so far this year. Not quite that drastic, but we are seeing across the board a really healthy increase of the average sold price because it was on average about 417 this time last year. Now it's much closer to about 460,000. So I'm seeing a pretty drastic increase and appreciation for the average sold price here in Eagle River, and that's kind of been the trend really so far for this entire year. Now, the next part of the market we're going to be checking out is going to be the condo market. So condos are not necessarily super popular in Eagle River, but, compared to the residential side, it's becoming more and more prevalent just because the inventory is so compressed. But it is definitely a part of the market here. It is a growing sector, so we need to keep an eye on it. And the number of properties that were available on the market this time last year were 14. Now it is 9. So that's it's proportionally a pretty good size cut. The next thing we see is that the number of overall condos that have sold was about, I think it was about 18 the year before, and now it's looking at 5. So not a whole lot going on there. Definitely seeing a decrease in the number of units that have actually sold, at least for that month compared to this time last year. That being said though, 5 is not particularly out of the norm for number of condos we sold this time last year. The most I've seen was at 18, and then we've got a couple 15s, but usually it's anywhere from about 5 to 10 condos that have sold. So in relation to in proportion to what the inventory is doing, it's actually doing pretty good as far as the demand goes. The last thing that we're going to see on condos is that the average sold price has actually gone down a little bit, as it also has in Anchorage and in the Matsu Valley as well, because it went from about 273,000 the year before. Now it's sitting closer to about 266,000. So kind of a slight decrease. It could really just be kind of a month-to-month thing, just depending on what units actually sold. So I'm not really using this as a huge gauge just across the board to give a blanket statement about the health of the condo market. because the sample size is just so small that it might have more to do with the individual units that sold than it does about the overall health of the condo market. But yes, average sold price for condos did go down. We'll be jumping into the multifamily market update in just a second, and then we'll be giving you a summary. But before we do that, I would encourage you, if you haven't done so already, do make sure that you go check out the Alaskan Journey podcast, in which I talk with people who've recently moved up here about their experiences of living on the last frontier and any tips they have on the transition process. Additionally, if you are looking at getting your property on the market in the near future, do feel free to reach out to me for a free copy of my seller guide to start walking you through the process of what it looks like to get your property ready to go onto the market. And let's go ahead and talk now about what's going on in the multifamily market. So the total number of multifamily properties we had available in Eagle River this time last year were 3, and now the total number of properties we have available are 2. So yes, the total number of properties that are available in Eagle River has been going down. This has never really been a huge multifamily market to begin with, but pretty desirable just because the cap rate is low. And for those of you who don't know, lower cap rate usually just means there's a lot of debate in investor circles, but historically, a higher cap rate does equal more work and usually more headache. And if you're looking for an investment where it's, mailbox money, where you can just go and quietly collect the money every month and that's the end of it, then you want a lower cap rate. And that's kind of been Eagle River. So it's a pretty desirable area. Once you get a multifamily property here, you don't really want to let it go. The next thing that I want to point out is, kind of in line with just the market, the sample size being so small for multifamily properties, is that this time last year, there was 1 property that sold, and this time there's 1. So not a huge, obviously not a huge change there. That's pretty normal for this time of year, even going, I think it's like 5 or 7 years back. Last but not least, I'm going to tell you this, and let's not get too excited. So the average sold price this time last year was $244, and now it's $620. Okay, one property sold this time last year. 1 property sold this time last year. So it's obviously 2 completely different types of properties. These reports indicate all of the multifamily properties from the duplex all the way up to the big commercial deal. So, to get a smaller sample size, that's just what's going to happen. Across the board, though, we are seeing a pretty healthy appreciation for multifamily properties in Eagle River. It's just hard to say exactly how much, just because the samples pool that we're drawing from is just so diminutive. It's hard to really draw any good conclusions on just how aggressively it has gone up. So as a summary, what we're seeing is that on the residential side, we are seeing a cut, and it's pretty drastic compared to the years before. I think we're down to about 20 or 25% of where we were, pre-COVID and pre everything kind of taking off crazy the way that it has. So that seems to be really driving the low interest rates and the low inventory we have right now really has been driving the prices up and up. I'm not expecting that to change anytime soon. The increasing interest rates might start to have an impact on it, but at the slow incremental rate that they're increasing it, it's not going to have a drastic impact probably for another year or so. Well, we'll say at least another 9 months, probably closer to a year before we start feeling it. And even then, it's not going to decrease the property values. It's probably just going to decrease the rate at which they're climbing. Okay, that's a big difference. Looking at condos now, not a whole lot going on there. I am seeing some more condos coming in here, so that's good. I mean, any additional housing options we can have here in Eagle River is always welcome. Now, looking at the multifamily markets, again, not a whole lot going on there. If you're a property owner and you own an investment property here in Eagle River, probably pretty happy where you're at right now, just because it's remaining a low cap rate, so you don't have a whole lot of headache attached with managing the property, and the overall rents in the area have been going up. I actually spoke with Eric Boltman with Real Property Management not too long ago in a podcast interview. That interview that we did, the episode should be going live, I think, in a couple of weeks as of the posting of this video. So do make sure you check that out on the Alaskan Journey podcast, where I talk with him about kind of managing on that side of it. So this is going to be your overall summary. I hope it was useful for you. Continues to be an interesting market. If you're thinking about waiting and seeing, this isn't the time for that. Today's premiums are probably going to be tomorrow's discounts. And I know there's sticker shock, and I know, it feels really tough right now, but it's probably only going to get tougher as we move forward and the interest rates go up. And the people, by the way, who bought just a couple of years ago at really low interest rates are probably going to be hanging on to their properties, whereas normally they would probably sell. But now the interest rates are higher, way higher than when they bought. So why would they trade down, pay more money for less house? So, make sure that you take advantage now. I know this feels really tough, but it's probably only going to get tougher. So I hate to end on that note, but thanks for watching. Give this video a thumbs up. I know you probably don't like the stuff I'm telling you, but if you like the delivery, do give me a thumbs up, and we'll see you next time.